Welcome to Empowered Moms. We have an amazing guest today. Brenda Schmidt is a really good, I don't know, friend of mine. Like, I don't even know how to describe you right now, but I'm going to try. So we met a little over a year ago in a really amazing business mentorship program. And I think just the best part about that program, well, one was the person teaching the content and the course, of course, but it's the stuff that happened behind the scenes, which is kind of where I love where Empowered Moms is taking us, because they're doing some, like, people are collaborating behind the scenes. And I think that's just like the coolest thing in the whole world. And then Brenda and I sat next to each other at the Powerhouse Women event of our mentor. So welcome, Brenda Schmidt. I'm going to let her introduce herself, and she's got a fun little topic for you guys today. And then we'll have some time at the end for a discussion.
Awesome. Hi, everybody. I'm so excited to be here. Yeah, Emily and I bonded because, of course, we were moms who were starting a new business, which has extra obstacles besides just like, I want to start a business, but also like, how are we going to balance that with all of our motherhood stuff and also serving moms through our businesses? So we bonded over that. I have so much enjoyed clapping and cheering for Emily this past year, all the cool things she's done. It's just so inspiring to see. And so I'm so excited for you guys, and also just like to I am in the community, but I haven't been able to participate as much as I've wanted to, because I'm also trying to launch all my stuff too. But it's just been so fun to be on this journey together. It's like, when you're a mom and you go to baby group and you're like talking about like, oh, my kid's doing this. Oh yeah, my kid's doing that too. Like, did your kids ever stick raisins up their noses? Yeah. Like stuff like that. And so you're able to like go through this journey and all the little challenges that come with it along the way. And when we start businesses, it's like another baby. And so being able to talk to basically like a baby group in a mom group to another person that's going through that and having similar obstacles, it's just like, it just makes your heart feel like this is what I'm supposed to be doing in this world. It's so cool. So a little background about me is I live here in Arizona. I'm in Tucson and it's freezing here this week. It does get cold usually, but not this cold. It's like 20s at night, so it's really cold. But I'm born and raised here in Arizona. I grew up on a cattle ranch. I'm number 2 of 6 kids. I grew up, my family was like on an actual island, like really separated from other people. So we were our own little village. My dad ran the ranch, and he had like a cowboy and other ranchers, and my grandmother lived there. And so there was people that helped with the ranch. And so there was a lot of support and community around that. But then my own mother did not have anybody. She just like lived on this hilltop in the middle of nowhere. And she was not a social person. She didn't get out of her comfort zone. She's raising 6 kids all by herself on a ranch. And she just like never built that village around her, never had the people. She didn't live near her family. She didn't have any friends. She didn't have those moms to talk to, didn't have those baby groups to go to, any kind of hobbies or passions that she wanted to pursue. Like she didn't have any kind of support for those or really like see them through. And so all of us kids saw her just decline mentally, until like she was just not a good parent at all. And so the gift in that is that I turned to a lot of other women in my life by the time I was a teenager. And I found a lot of great mentorship from my sports coaches, from teachers, my ROTC instructor, my own grandmother. I had a really strong relationship with her. And then as I went to college, then some of my bosses, I had really good relationships with them. So it was really cool because it's almost like I had like 200 moms. So instead of just being parented by this one mom that shows you one way, I really early on recognized that like, this is not the best situation for me. So I kind of withdrew from my relationship with her and sought out advice and help and support from other women that were older than me, same age as me, and just started like making a community around myself. And like the gift in that is that has served me so well for the whole rest of my life, is that no matter what I'm doing, I can always find other people to mentor me, to just like, I just start asking questions. I'm like, can we go to lunch? Can I pick your brain about stuff? Can I, hey, let's go for a hike. Like, I'd love to hear your story. Let's support each other. And so it's like having people to cheer you on and being able to cheer them on has been such a big part of my life. Because of just the way that I grew up, and also just seeing what a difference it makes. Sorry, there's gnats in here. Just seeing what a difference it makes in like the two different ways, like how on this ranch, it was this well-oiled machine. There was hired help, but also volunteer help. And all these people working together as sort of a village to make things happen on this ranch, this cattle ranch. And it was like the amount of land that we're covering is this huge property. And so just like seeing what's possible when you have a lot of people working together, and then also seeing like how detrimental it is if you don't have that within my own mom's existence. And so it's like these two things were existing at the same time. And I got to have this window into both. And so now as an adult, that was like, I was in this mentorship group with Emily, and it was funny because I, was like, I want to start my own business, but I don't know what my thing is. Like, I don't know if any of you guys ever feel that, where you're like, yeah, I know I'm like made for more. I'm called to do something, like to really give in this life, but what is my thing? Like, what's my special thing that differentiates me from other people? And I was kind of at that point where I was like, well, I love self-development and I consume tons of it. So maybe I can like take some of that and distill it and share it back. So it's kind of like, all right, well, let's like do some self-development, kind of like mom coaching stuff or just like empowerment stuff. But I wasn't really sure what my thing was. Well, then, so my previous life growing up on the ranch and all of that. Well, then my adult life, I have 3 kids with my husband, and he is a serial entrepreneur. We started dating when we were 20 years old, and we dated forever before we settled down and got married and had kids. And so he started his company shortly after we started dating. While he was still in college, he was already freelancing. And then he was like, that's it, I'm making it an actual business because I don't want to get a real job. So he started his business back then. And so I was like on this journey with him, like, well, what about this? Well, what about that? Well, what about that? And then I was the one that always had the reliable jobs to let him take all these risks. And so sometimes he was making more, sometimes I was making more. It was like ebbing and flowing depending on what was going on with his business. And so I studied art, I worked in finance, I'm like Renaissance lady doing all these different things. And meanwhile, my husband is like the risk taker. I can't gesture too much. We learned. Thinks I'm raising my hand. So I've just always been this behind the scenes person, seeing how a business is built and just seeing the value of taking all these risks, but also learning about processes and systems and how important that is to making everything work. So you're not the one person that is the bottleneck in the equation. And so over the years, then he would read a business book and implement it in his business, and I would read the business book and I would implement it in our household, because I'm like, okay, how can I do more with my time? I'm always like the adventure seeker, the like, let's live our some days today. Let's see how we can make everything happen. Like, we want to take that trip, but we don't have the money. Like, there's got to be a way we can use points. Like, let's figure out this point system and like tweak it. It's like Monopoly money, or like we want to do all these things that are on like our bucket list. And so, but for me, I'm like, how do I do all this stuff and also handle my household? And that's where I started really implementing processes and systems, and then hiring help and creating this whole like basically like running my house like a business, so that I could go and do all the things that I really wanted to be doing, like all my hobbies, or traveling with my girlfriends, like taking girlfriend trips, or going out for mom night outs, or any of the stuff that as moms, we never get around to, because as soon as we're done with the stuff that we have to do, then we go to the stuff that we need to do. And there's never the stuff that we want to do. And so I'm like, I want to do the stuff I want to do, not all these other chores. And so how can I automate them and delegate them as like cheaply, affordably, as accessible? Like, I want to make this as accessible as possible and affordable as possible, so that we can like still live our goals and surround ourselves with this kind of help. And of course, like my own family, there's like, some people that have we have friends who like, they live in a neighborhood and like 2 houses down is like the cousin, and then there's like a strong network of all these people. But I think I know more moms that don't have that than the ones who do. Like, it used to be a thing that I think a lot more families had, was all their family around them. And, you know, you like, the kids go to all the same schools together and you get to know all the families. Well, now there's just like a lot more movement, a lot more just like piecing things together. And so you don't have those built-in villages anymore. So, you really got to build your own villages. And while I realize that, yeah, there's like the mom groups and you can have your villages of your other moms, that is a huge, huge piece of the puzzle. The other missing piece of the puzzle is like the stuff that like the mother-in-law should or would be doing, or the stuff that like the cousin or the aunt or whoever in other cultures or in other families is doing, is like helping with laundry and helping with cooking and helping with childcare and all those other things. And so the like conversations you have with moms is such an important piece of the puzzle, but then you also need all that support from other people that you're not necessarily going to be hanging out with all the time, but you just like need hands on deck to help you. And that's where, with my husband, and as he grew his team and he's like, okay, now I don't want to do this, so I hire someone. Now I don't want to do this, so I hire somebody. Well, then we started doing that in our house. So I love cooking, but I don't like having to do it all the time. Like, I like it when it's a creative outlet and you're like, oh, try this recipe. But oh my gosh, you guys, like, you know how this is, where you're like, I seriously just cooked for you guys and then clean the whole kitchen and it's been 30 minutes and now you want more food. Like, how is this possible? And you're like nonstop. And so I was just done. I was like, I don't want to have to cook the regular stuff anymore. I only want to do like the fun recipes for the holidays or like the birthdays or something like that. And so we got a personal chef, which at first was funny because when I would talk about her, I'd be like, oh yeah, like this lady that comes in, like cooks at our house sometimes. And like, I didn't want to talk about it and tell people about it because I don't know, it's like tacky or taboo or whatever. Like, people are like, what? You have a personal chef? But then I started realizing, like, wait a second, that if I share about this, then other moms can realize it's possible for them too. That it's like, you don't have to live in some big fancy mansion and have like the two different kitchens and the personal chef is in one and you're over here. You know, it's like this whole like vision that we have from, I don't know what movie or TV show, that like we think that's the image of a personal chef, but it's like, no, like it can be a lady who's also working at another business. Like, maybe she works like a corporate job a few days a week or whatever. And then she comes and she cooks and that's her passion. And so yeah, we have our chef that comes once a week and we set our meals ahead of time, 2 weeks. And so like yesterday she was here. She makes a week's worth of meals for us. And so we set the menu 2 weeks in advance. And so the kids yesterday were like, what are we having? What is she making us? I said, actually, I don't know, because I set that up 2 weeks ago. And as soon as it was handled, it was like out of my mind and I don't have to think about it anymore. I just know we're going to have healthy home cooked meals. And yeah, I know. Isn't that the best? And this is like the crazy thing is like the amount that we pay her. Like, she goes and gets all the groceries for the recipes that she wants. All right, backtrack. Sorry. I get so excited. And so it's like, I gave her, my husband likes to eat keto. I will eat carbs, but I don't love a lot of gluten. And so I love, like, my favorite meals are just meat and veggies, salads with meat. Like, those are my favorite things. And so I'm like, if somebody can just make that for me all the time, I will feel very nourished. I will feel more myself, but I don't always have the time to do that. And so I end up eating like the stupid chicken nuggets that my kids are eating or something like that. And I eat like the dumb food. And so I'm like, no, I want to eat the good food. And we did like Blue Apron and HelloFresh and all those boxes for a while. But I was like, okay, I want to still not have to do any part of it. Like, I don't want to have to still chop the Blue Apron. And so that's where she came in. And so I was like, you know what, here's 3 keto cookbooks. You can keep them at your house or make copies of them or whatever you want to do. And just every week, I want you to make us like 1 pork, 1 beef, 1 chicken. And so she makes 3 of the meals from that cookbook. And then I tell her to make extra. So then it gives us leftovers. So that gives us about like 5 or 6 nights of dinners. And my husband and I go on date night once a week. And so then that's when the kids get to have their chicken nuggets and pizza with the babysitter. And then there's usually some event on the weekend that like the whole family will be out at. So that's the formula that we figured out has worked for us, is where we have like 5 or 6 nights of dinners. And then like if there's a holiday or something coming up, I'll have her make sides for Christmas or sides for Thanksgiving for us to take to things. Or I'm going to a potluck this week, so I'll have her make something that I take to the potluck. And everybody's like, this is amazing. How did you make this? And I'm like, actually, I did not make it. My personal chef made it, but I will send you the recipe because I do have it. But then it's great because then it opens up that conversation about like, wait, what? You have a personal chef and she's making your potluck meals. And I'm like, yes, and you can too. And it's super affordable and accessible. And so this is where then I realized, like, as we are going through this coaching program, Emily and I, that like, I thought that all the other entrepreneur families out there, like I'm this entrepreneur wife, I no longer worked my corporate job. I'm home with my kids. Um, I thought like, oh, this is something that all the entrepreneur families do because they just take what they apply in their business and they apply it in their household. So I just thought it was like a thing that everybody does. But then the more I was talking to all these other entrepreneurial families, I realized like they do all this in their business, but they don't even think how it would apply in their house. Like they just fall short. And then they come back and they're like, maybe they're making $1,000 an hour as a coach in their business, but then they're like, spending all this time doing dishes or their laundry. And like that takes like 5 hours on a Saturday that they could be using to create a course or do something else that then is going to be earning them more money. And so it's like, why are you doing these like $10, $15, $20 per hour jobs if you're $1,000 per hour person? And then for a stay-at-home mom, it's like, why are you doing the job that you could pay a teenager to do while you go make the memories with your kids? Because that was another thing. Like when we first started hiring people at first, I was like, I need more time. So I hired a nanny to be with my youngest. She would take him on all these cool adventures all over the place, make all these memories with him. And then I was the one staying home doing laundry and putting it away and doing all the chores. And I'm like, wait. You're doing the fun stuff with my kid that I want to be doing. And I'm staying home and doing the chores that I trick myself into really liking. And I put on Mrs. Maisel and fold my laundry and tell myself it's meditation. But like, honestly, if I really thought about it, like I'd rather go to the zoo with my kid than be doing the laundry. So I was like, okay, hold on. So instead I'm like, hey, how about when you come, you do the laundry and I take my kid? Like, I know you're the nanny, but can I have you switch? And so that was like where you can find people who maybe have never even done that job, but they're just good people and they're organized and they're like problem solvers. And then you can have them start doing other things in your household. And that's what we started doing, is like playing around with it. And so we got our personal chef, we got our house manager. So she does all the laundry. The only laundry that I do now is my own laundry, because it's like, I'm picky about hanging it up and making sure that nothing gets shrunk or torn or anything like that. But if I really wanted to, I could hand that off. But I still hang on to that one. I mean, maybe I need to work on that, but but the rest, like all my kids' laundry, my husband's laundry, this is no longer like a thing I feel resentful about as a mom. That's like, like, why can't they pick their clothes up? Why can't they do that? Blah, blah. Why am I the one that has to do this? Like a lot of the things that I used to feel resentful about is stuff that now I'm just like, oh, this magical person. Like I like cloned myself. And now I have like this other Brenda that I can appreciate and be like, oh, this is the magic person that I usually am for everyone else in my house. Now she's my magic person that like magically things like makes things happen. And so my house manager, she's just like, and she had never been a house manager before. So people will ask me, and we'll open this up for questions. You guys can ask me all the questions you want about household hires and where to find them and all that kind of stuff. But like she had only done babysitting before, and she's a college kid. And so she had never been a house manager, which it's kind of like a new term. And everybody's like, what's a house manager? And so you don't have to think like, oh my gosh, there's no house managers in my area. Or this like big undertaking of like, oh my gosh, I'm going to go from like just me to hiring this whole staff. It's like the same as if it's in a business where you're a one-man band and all of a sudden you're like, I need somebody to answer the phones for 3 hours every week. And you just layer that on. And then when you're ready, you're like, I need a salesperson to come in twice a week. And then I need this other person. So the same thing in our house is like, we have layered the things on that we're like, okay, we need a babysitter that comes once a week for date night. Okay, now we need our first house manager we had, she came 5 hours a week. And so it was like, seriously, the amount that I would normally spend on one Target run, I would pay her to come for a whole week to organize my whole house. Instead of me going to Target and being like, this adorable little basket is going to solve all my problems, and keep buying all the stuff that you think is going to solve your problems. But really it's like, take that money and give it to a person that's going to create sustainable solutions in your house and keep it organized and then do it for you. And then you don't have to think about it. And so a lot of times we think like, I don't have the money for this, but then you're like, wait, how am I already spending the money on a solution that's not sustainable and not really working? And also maybe like not, I don't even realize I'm spending the money on that. Like I know when I'm like really, really tired and not feeling myself is when I want to buy a new outfit. Cause I'm like, oh, that outfit will make me feel more myself. But really I need a nap. So if I take that money and I hire somebody to watch my kids so I can go take a nap, then I feel more myself. And I'm like, look at all these cute clothes I already have. And so it's like, I'm not, yeah, it's like super affordable and within our reach. And that was something I had a hang up about. And I know a lot of other moms had a hang up about was like, how am I going to afford this help? I feel guilty about it. So anyways, that's kind of like the whole spiel of like my how I got to where I am. And so now I have launched my own business, Kick-Ass Modern Mom, which is teaching moms how to build their own villages of support with household hires and family systems. And so that way they can make more meaningful memories with their kids. If they're entrepreneurs or career women, that way they have more time to focus on their zone of genius and really crank out some goodness there. But I mean, it's like the best marriage counseling to just give it to a third person. Like instead of the like, you should be doing this, you should be doing why do I need to do this? Whatever. It's like, let's have all of this just go over here instead. And then we'll go on date night now. So it's like, it helps with the friction and the tension in your marriage. It helps with the tension between your kids. Like having my kids help create the systems and then delegating it to the house manager and they collaborate with her and work with her. It's already teaching them how to work together on teams and create systems and then evaluate what's working, what's not, and then change it. And so all of these are just such good skills that my kids are growing up in. And then also it just makes our family more fun. Like we can just do a lot more fun adventures and feel light and feel easy and feel supported. Like I honestly am like, this light and happy feeling, that must be what support feels like. So support and rest, which is like, as a mom, like you can never have too much of that. So I'm just like, I'm on a mission to meaningfully enhance the motherhood experience for my generation, for all of us, and for future generations, so that when our kids are all older, that it's just no brainer for them that they operate like this in their parenthood journey. So I'm just like fired up about it. So I've launched my business. Well, I filed like the business name last year, but then I recorded a course and launched my membership and did all that stuff just this year. And I know like Jenna Klopfenstein was on here and like she's gone like super duper fast this past year. Same thing. I've been like just a fast moving train this whole past year, going all in on this movement that I want to make. And so I have so appreciated Emily's support this whole past year. And I've also been loving to cheer her on. So yeah, I can't wait to like support all of you guys in this area. If anybody needs any help in this, ask me all the questions you want.
Well, thank you, Brenda. I think, when a lot of us think about those things, right? Truthfully, like the first thing I thought about is like, oh, well, it must be nice for them, right? I'm just going to say, I'm going to put the white elephant in the room, right? Oh, it must be nice. Yeah, we can't do that. We can't do that. Well, here's the thing too. So I've been coaching a lot of moms in the last couple of years, and most of them were healthcare providers as well. So nurses or doctors and all that kind of stuff. And all I would ask is those questions. Like there was a larger handful that actually disclosed information of what they talked to their therapist about. And they would tell me this, right? And I'm like, well, what's going on? Well, my anxiety comes from the dishes not being done. My anxiety comes from the laundry not being done. And I was like, okay, well, and truthfully, again, like a year ago, one of my friends who does financial coaching, which is like phenomenal, she same thing, almost got divorced over the laundry. So she looked in, got curious. She's like, how much, she found out someone else was getting laundry outsourced. She's like, well, it's just for rich people, whatever. She looked into it and she's like, I'm just going to make up the number. I think it was like $1 a pound or something like that. And she had 2 boys. She said, dirty, smelly boys. That's all she kept saying. My dirty, smelly boys. So let's just say it was $30. Let's just say it was $50 a week, right? I don't know how much it was, but it was so minimal to her that she's like, that $50 or whatever the money she was telling me it was saved their lives. And I'm like,
Mm.
that's crazy. Now, and a lot of us as moms are like, but I should be doing these things. And I think that's where like the guilt of, but I'm the mom, like, how hard is it? I should be doing it. I don't want to have to pay someone to do it. And I think just the realization that you're trying to put in there is that, first of all, there's nothing wrong if you do it. Obviously,
Yes.
most of us
If
do all
you
this.
enjoy it, that's the
If
thing
you
I
enjoy
will
it.
say is like, some people are like, but I actually really enjoy this. And I'm like, then that is something you should totally keep. And it's like where you have to, not everybody's journey is going to be the same, obviously, but especially in this is like, I know some parents who hate having to do the school runs, right? Like they hate like the whole mom taxi, dad taxi, where they're like sitting in their car for 3 hours, running to each of the different schools, dropping off at this, whatever. And I know other moms who absolutely love that time with their kids. Like they rock out to music, they listen to audiobooks, they just talk. But so it depends. Like some parents are like, I will happily outsource that because I spend valuable time with them in this other way. Whereas another parent's like, yeah, that's valuable time that I want to spend with them. I want to keep that. And in order to make that happen, I need to outsource this other stuff so that when I get back home, it's handled. And so it's, you can pick and choose. It's like the choose your own adventure book to the max. Oh, I
Yeah,
should
no,
open the chat here.
I think it's just great because I think it's important to figure out in your families like where it's just like draining all of your energy and it's turning you into a monster. I'm gonna say it because I've like I'll raise my hand. I'm like, yeah, so I realized how hard is vacuuming. I cleaned my house. I actually didn't mind it. There was like I enjoyed like, oh, I don't pay for that. Like I do it because it's like, I'm like, this is actually fun. My 3-year-old
Mhm.
helps me. We did it like a couple times in the morning. But what I realized is how exhausted I was after cleaning our freaking house. I'm like, I go
Yeah.
to the gym, I go to these other things. Why am I exhausted? And then I was really irritable the whole day. And it'd be like, my husband would be like, are you on your period? Like, what's going on? I'm like, no, I just clean the house. Well, then I started cleaning the house around my period. Because if I'm just going to be a crazy animal, I might as well just like knock it all out. So anyway, my story to that was like, I just got to the point where I was like, I just don't want to do it anymore. Like, it's just costing me so much. Like, something is going on. And he's like, well, how hard is vacuuming? They've all heard this story 100 times. And I'm like, oh, it's totally not hard. It's actually kind of fun. I just don't want to do it. And he's like, I mean, I could do it. So again, right there was just like the outsource of like, my husband's like, I'll pick that up. And then it got to there's more to it than the vacuuming. So, I mean,
Yes.
for the
And
first
sometimes
time in
our
a year,
husbands will
yeah.
say like, oh, well, I mean, I could start doing that thing. Like for me, the bane of my existence was the stupid trash bins, rolling the trash bins out to the curb for pickup day. And I hated it. I'm like, I don't want this job. My friend calls them blue jobs and pink jobs. And so like there was like an exercise we did in this mom group one time where we were like going through and listing out the blue jobs and pink jobs, which is actually kind of like Eve Rodsky's unicorn space cards, the fair
Yeah.
play cards, the deck. And so we had done this where like we were kind of like comparing each other's households, but also being inspired by like, oh, this is a distribution in your house. So I should feel okay with asking for more help. And so anyways, I went through and I was like listing out and I was like, yeah, I do all the blue jobs and the pink jobs. Like I'm the person that fixes the hinges on the doors and fixes the light bulbs and like fixes the irrigation and vacuums and does the laundry and does the cooking. And I'm like, I really got to get rid of some of these blue jobs and pink jobs and the trashes. Oh my gosh. And so it's like, you know, that feeling when, or like that you hear the truck and you're like, oh, I didn't put them out. And you like put your slippers on and you're running out there to roll them out in time. And I hated that. And then I would roll them out and then I'd wave to the guy, oh, thank you so much for waiting for me. And then the whole walk back to the house, like, I'm so mad. I'm so mad that I have to do the stupid trashes. And so here's like what I did. Here's the easiest thing that I did is like, we have a pool guy that was already coming to our house. Our trashes had to go out on like Fridays and he would come on Thursdays. And so there was like, I think it was when one of my kids was a baby. And I one day just asked him, I was like, hey, could you do me a favor? Every week when you come and do the pool, before you leave, could you just roll my trashes out to the curb for me? So that way, like I don't have to keep track of it with all these little kids. And he's like, oh yeah, totally. And then there would be some days like he was nearby the next day that he would roll them back in for me. He would come back over to my house and roll them back in for me. And I didn't pay him, but I outsourced it. I delegated it. I asked for help. And it's sometimes like that was really, really hard for me. Like sometimes it's harder to ask somebody that's already helping you to help you more than to actually pay somebody. But he is so happy to do it. Like, it makes his day. Like, because of that one little step of me asking him, can you help me roll my trashes out every week when you come? It's like totally not your job at all. You work for this other company. It does not include trash rollout, but please, can you do it? Because I know you're a good person. And so now it's like turned into where we've built this relationship with him over the years. He's come over for Christmas and Thanksgiving, and like, my kids give him gifts for his birthday and he gives them gifts. And so he's become part of our village, all because I asked him for help. And sometimes that's all it takes for us. And we think like, I can't afford to hire this. I don't know where to find this. Okay, who is already in your ecosystem that you're like, the thought of asking them for help or asking them for more help makes you feel super uncomfortable. But think about it from their perspective. Like, they love to serve in this way. They like, it makes them super happy to get to help you. And he loved like, oh, this is a special thing I do for this family because they have a new baby in the house. Like, it like filled him with pride. And so why would I deprive him of that? Because I'm like so proud that this should be my job to roll out trashes because I'm the person who stays home with kids. So therefore anything that's attached to this property is my responsibility. Like, no, take it away. Everyone else, here, give these jobs away. That's like Emily, you're saying is like, we think these are our jobs. Society tells us these are our jobs. They are not our jobs. They really aren't. Like, they used to belong to other people. There was never one person doing all of this stuff. It's just kind of evolved to that, and it needs to disevolve and go back to other people. It's just the difference is before, where maybe everybody's living under one roof or all nearby and they help with these things. So there was like the grandpa that lived next door doing the grandpa jobs. Like, I wouldn't have to fix my own toilet whenever like the stopper thing falls apart. He would come over and fix that. I wouldn't have to clean out my gutters. He would do that. Or like my own father, if he lived close by, he would be fixing my irrigation. So these all used to be other people's jobs. They're not my jobs, but I've taken them on. But now, instead of trying to like feel like, well, I don't have family here, so there's nobody else to do them. No, like, instead of trading this housing, I'm going to trade my money, which they're going to trade for their own housing. And then I'm going to hire that village instead. And so we just have to switch our mindset and be like, you know what? It's fine, because the people you hire, they really do become like family. They really, really just like love serving you, and you become this unit, this community. And so it really feels like you were just meant to be a village all along. And then there's some that you're like, you know what, this isn't a good fit, but I did learn from it. And then they go and they do other stuff, and you find another person, and that person's an even better fit. So you learn through the process. And there's like, we used to have the teenager in our neighborhood that would take care of our dogs whenever we were out of town. She wasn't a fantastic babysitter, but she loved pets. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to have you babysit anymore, but I will have you take care of our dogs. Well, then she moved away to college. So then you find another person. And so these people come in and out of your lives, and it's exactly the same as like the mom group, right? And then the preschool moms and this, like, these people are in your lives for the seasons that you need them. And then some of them are in your lives for long term, but it's okay if it's just a season. And it's also okay if it's long term. And it's absolutely, without a doubt, okay that you hire them to even get them in your village to begin with.
Yeah, thank you. Do you guys have any questions? Like, what do you?
Oh, Happy Nest. Who's Bethany? Let's see. Tell me about Happy Nest.
It's a laundry pickup service. It's $1.70 a pound with next day delivery. I just looked it up.
Awesome.
Hell yes, done.
Yeah, I haven't actually used them, but I had looked up some companies a while back when I was thinking about outsourcing laundry. There was another one, I can't seem to find it in the Google searches, so I don't know if there's some business, but that was like an Uber type.
Yeah, there's one called Hamper with just an R at the end. We've tried that.
Hamper.
So this is what I will say about, there's different levels of outsourcing. And so just like I mentioned, there's like the Blue Apron and HelloFresh boxes, which outsources part of it, but then you're still doing some of it. And so like that box used to cost us $50 to feed our family. And so I'd pay $50. It came with 3 meals. And that was like a good barometer for how much I want to like invest right in some of these things. And so I'm like, okay, $50, like that's cheaper than takeout. That's cheaper than those Costco trays that are now $25 each that my kids eat all by themselves, like the pre-made ones. So like we started with those and then we realized, no, you know what? Like the chopping and all the other pieces of it, I also don't want to do that. And so we would get these boxes and we'd end up not making them. They would just sit in our fridge and the stuff would spoil and go bad. And then it was a waste of money because I had outsourced it, but not to the level that I actually needed. And so you kind of figure out what works for you. And we did the same thing with the hamper app. My husband's like, we were in between house managers and he's like, well, let's just do the hamper app because maybe that's the solution we need. And so we just have like a cleaner that comes and then this hamper app that we outsource to. And it's like the same people who do Instacart and Uber and like all the drive around kind of stuff. They'll come and they pick up your laundry. They give you like those hampers like you have in college in the dorms, that mesh fold up thing. Actually, I know a mom that travels with them so she can get her laundry done when she is staying at hotels long-term or like Airbnbs and stuff, which is brilliant. I haven't done that yet. But you have these hampers and then you put them out on your porch. They come and they pick them up. And in the app, you specify, just like Instacart, you specify your preferences like hot wash, cold wash, anyways, all these things. And so, they do your laundry, they bring it back and it's all folded. But the part for me that's the hardest for laundry, I don't know about you guys, was putting it away, like putting it in the actual drawers. Because I can put loads in the wash and I can switch them over pretty well without like forgetting and then they go stinky and I have to rewash them. But most of the time, like I switch them over. And then I'll take them out and they go in these laundry baskets. And even sometimes I'll like stand there as the other stuff is going and do the like fold it on your chest and stick it in real quick thing. But then it would just live in that laundry basket like until the basket was pretty much empty again. Like everyone just keeps pulling their stuff out of the basket. And I think that's the problem for a lot of moms is like they wash it, they dry it, and then it goes in the basket and the baskets just sit around everywhere. And so for me, I was like, I need somebody who can actually put this away and organize it. I have 3 kids, ages 11, 8, and 4. And so it's like when one kid outgrows something, packing it up and putting it in the garage and then pulling it out later for the other kid. And that whole rotation process is like another thing that I needed help with. And so for me, I'm like, okay, well, if the hamper app costs this much per month, it's like a membership at the time. I think it was like $35 a month. I was like, I wonder if I can just pay my cleaning lady to stay an hour extra every time she comes. And she would come at that time, she was coming every other week. And I was like, well, the kids all have enough clothes to last 2 weeks. So if I just have her stay an extra hour, hour and a half, that's cheaper than the hamper app and she'll actually put it away. So I would just make sure it was all washed, dried, and in those baskets, like it usually was anyways. And then she would stay and she would put it all away and fold it, put it. And this is a part where moms are like, yeah, but there's no way that somebody can do all the laundry in an hour and a half. Yes, they can if they're not you, the mom that has like squirrel syndrome all over your house. Because like when I do my laundry, when I'm doing the laundry, I'm like, I go to put it away. And then I'm like, oh, wait, that doesn't go there. And then I go to put it where it belongs. And then I'm like, oh, wait, I forgot. I needed to order this thing. Oh, wait, I need to fill out this form. Right? Like 5 hours later, you still haven't done the laundry because you're also like noticing all the other stuff on the list. Well, she is tasked with just putting away, like folding and putting away that laundry and then putting the baskets back. That's like her only job. She doesn't notice all those other things. So it only took her an hour or an hour and a half. And so the cost for me, it was like cheaper than $35 a month for me to just pay her to just stay extra and do the laundry. And that was like the easiest way to layer it on. So it's like, you can gradually just keep adding these little things. Like she was already coming. Okay, cool. Want to do this also? And, oh, hey, what about this? And like my pool guy and this. So, the same, like the babysitter, we used to have our babysitters, when they would come, I'm like, okay, like here's the Wi-Fi and the cable information for when the kids are asleep. So that, like they could watch TV. And then one day I was like, I wish they would like clean my house after the kids are asleep. And so I started asking for that. I was like, you know what? So this is the schedule in our house. Like when I was to hire a new babysitter, I'm like, so in our house, this is the schedule. And I would have like this little, like, so the kids follow, dinner at this time, bedtime at this time. And once all the lights are out, then I need you to come and clean up the kitchen. And even if it's a wreck from the day, can you just load the dishwasher and wipe my counters? And also, can you pick up all the toys off the floor? And so I just had like this little like punch list of them to do because they're there for like another 2 hours before we get home. And so I'm like, in 2 hours, they can get a lot done. And then I would come home from date night and my house would be spick and span and it was amazing, instead of like the teenager on their phone with like food still sitting out that needed to be put away. So it's like these small little like shifts. I'm like, I'm already paying this person. I should really be asking them for the help that I need. So anyways, yeah, it was like the hardest part was right here, me being okay with all of it. And then once I started feeling, you do it and then you do it again and then you start feeling better about it. And then you realize like people are excited to help you. You're like, okay, I'm going to keep asking for this. And then like, now I'm like shameless. I'm like, I need you to do this. I need you to do that. And then I like praise them galore. I buy them little gifts. I make sure to like get all my staff, like get flowers. And I'm like, take such good care of them because I really do appreciate them. But I also will not hesitate to ask them for any help that I need now. Let me look at these questions. Hold on. Pop-up hampers. Oh, yes. At Disney, I bet. Because there's some places that have washer and dryers available for you to use. But then it's like, wait, how am I going to carry all that stuff down there? Am I going to wheel my suitcase down there? So it's nice to have the pop-up hampers. Poplin is another laundry service. Yeah, there's so many of them. And there's even like nanny babysitter fulfillment agencies that will pre-vet people now. So when people are asking about like, well, where do you find a house manager? I'm like, go find a really good nanny and just teach them how to be a house manager and be like, ta-da, now you're a house manager. And so if you go through one of those agencies that already pre-vets them and does the background checks and stuff like that, you'll get a really high quality person that's a little bit more professional. And they're like, so they want that to be their job. So whenever you're like, hey, I want you to take on all this stuff and it contributes in this major way, like they feel that sense of purpose also. So
what all does
like
your house manager do?
she has, well, here, let me, I was going to say, so one of the first things that I had our newest house manager do was I told her, I said, I've always had this vision that there's like a household binder that is like the manual that you follow and everybody else who works here follows. And so she loves lists and she loves creating systems. So I said, as one of your first jobs, will you please make me this household binder? And so she made a household binder system when there's like a different tab. So like for pet sitting, emergency numbers, the Wi-Fi code. It'd be like if you went to an Airbnb and it has like everything in the binder, except this is for everybody in my house to be able to know things instead of having to ask me all the time. And so she made this household binder. And then she has, for her section, she comes 3 days a week. And each day she has different things that she does. And some things are the same things. So it's like she always cleans up the kitchen for me. So as soon as she comes in, she always goes in the kitchen. And if there's clean dishes in the dishwasher, she puts them away, switches it over, wipes the counters, gets it all clean. And she like takes apart my stove and scrubs under it. And like the stuff that my cleaners also do, but she does it on a more regular basis, just like quick once overs of everything. So it just keeps it a really nice state instead of it getting bad in between the cleaner visits. And then she'll do laundry. So we have it where it's like when she comes on one day, she does my husband and my daughter. And then on the next day, she does my 2 sons. And then on the next day, she does all the household linens. And so my kids know that like, oh, I need this washed. It better be in their hamper and ready on the day that she does their loads. Like my sons get Wednesday, my daughter gets Monday. And so if my daughter has a jacket in her backpack that needs to be washed, she has to have it in her hamper for Monday to get washed. And so the kids have to follow the systems also, or they're not going to, like right now, my son got his room is not allowed to get cleaned or organized by her right now. He lost that privilege because he wasn't participating in his side of it where he helps create the systems. And so right now when she comes, she'll tidy up the other kids' rooms and get them organized to the point where like even like my daughter with all her shoes, it was just like a pile in her closet. And my house manager said, hey, are you good if I get this shoe organizer? I'm just going to order it and build it and install it. And I was like, go for it. And I'll reimburse you. So she did. And so then my daughter came home and was like, oh, look at my shoes, mom. And this was all just handled. And like, these are where I had this vision where my back porch, like the pool towels and the pool toys and the floaties and everything would just be all over the place. And I had this idea, like, I want this like whole organized area, like this command center of pool stuff. And so I ordered all these supplies off of Amazon and they had to be built. And I told her I took her out there and I was like, this is my vision, go. and I just have her build it all and make it all happen. And then it's implemented. So it's like all of those things that we start or that we have ideas for, but we never follow through on because we're so busy because we have so many things to do. This is like that person that like you're the boat and they're like in your wake and they like, yep, closing all the circles for you, making all the things happen that you have the ideas or you start. And then you get down on yourself because you're like, I always start things, but I don't finish them. Well, yeah, because we have too many jobs. So this person helps start closing all those circles. Yeah. And it's like, depending on your area, you can find a really good quality person for like $20, $25 an hour. And just have them come for like 3 hours a week to start, 5 hours a week or something like that. And it's like, for me, I was like, okay, if somebody comes for 3 hours at $20 an hour, that's for sure less than how much I'm spending at Target on all this stupid stuff that's not solving the problem. So for me, I at first was like, this is like, I don't know if I can spend the money on this, because we do feel this sense of like, this should be my job. Why am I going to pay somebody else to do it? And the other part that is hard is that people struggle with is like, well, then now that this person is doing that, like, what am I supposed to do? Like, where is my worth tied to is what inside of us is what we're feeling. And that's where it's so super important to have like the vision. What is your ideal life with your family? What are all those things that are on your want list? Right. So you have to kind of like, just like a company, a business would start with like, what's their mission statement? What's their vision? And then every time they onboard employees and grow, that is the vision that they're projecting to everybody. Well, the same in your house, when you run it like a business, there needs to be like this overarching vision. Like, who are we as a family? How do we spend our free time? So that way, as soon as you get more free time, you make sure like, okay, now we're going to go do that thing that we said we always want to do with free time. Or if self-care, right? Like if you don't get enough time for self-care, it's like, by golly, go take a nap. If somebody's here doing your laundry in your house, like, don't feel bad for taking a nap. That is going to make you a better mom and it's going to make you a better person. So it's like the best investment you could make in yourself is making yourself a better person. And so you should not, absolutely not feel bad for going and taking a nap while somebody else does that job, because it's not your job to begin with. You took it on, but you're ready to let go of it. Like, that's the part for moms. It's like, it's so hard, but like, I just am on this mission to change the narrative around it and change the conversation so that like, we don't feel bad about this anymore. Okay.
Brenda, can I interject for 1 second?
What's that?
Can I interject for 1 second?
Yes.
I think you made a really good point about creating systems too, that for maybe individuals that are really, really tight on a budget and they said they can't outsource anything, legit can't afford it. I think creating systems within your house and outsourcing within your immediate family can be very instrumental too, right?
Yep. And it almost is like, you almost have to start with that before you even layer in the other people. I mean, you can do either way, but I started with that where, every time we'd go on vacation, we'd stay at an Airbnb and like everything's really labeled and it has that binder. And I would feel like, okay, we're staying in this other person's house that nobody in my family, like they haven't stayed here before, but somehow they're able to manage and find what they need and take care of themselves. But yet when we go back to our own house where they're very familiar, that everybody should know where stuff is kept, somehow I'm always the person having to fetch stuff and find stuff and put it away and be in charge of that process. So I was like, how can I make my house more like an Airbnb? And it's like, well, what does the Airbnb do? They label everything. So I got a label maker and I labeled the crap out of my entire house, like to the point where my husband was like, are you going to label the dog? And so, but I put like where the dishes go, where it's like the dinner dishes, the saucers, the salad plates, every little spot on the shelf, just like an Airbnb would do. And then the binder system, like telling everybody like where they can find things. And so it seriously is like my husband, a lot of the questions that he'll be like, oh, what's this? Or who do we call for that? I'm like, binder, 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 binder. We also have a digital version that we've made, a Trello board, but the binder actually gets used more than that. And so I just keep referring people in my house to that. But it's true, like outsourcing to people in your house too. Like, I love training my dogs and taking care of my dogs. I'm such an animal lover, but I have been lately starting to get a little bit resentful about being in charge of feeding them twice a day. And so my son is obsessed with Pokemon. And so I said, hey buddy, how about this? this whole next month, you're in charge of the dogs. And for every time you feed them, you get a Pokemon card. And so he gets 2 Pokemon cards a day because he feeds them twice a day. And so he was like on a roll with it to the point. And it's like, you learn as a parent, like if you create a system for your kids, it eventually just makes the habit. So maybe you incentivize it at first, but then eventually they don't need the incentivization because they just do it because it's a habit. And so it's the same thing. And so then like now he's just like in charge of the dogs because he's been doing it for 2 months now. That is just like part of his routine and part of his habits. And I love it because now I'm not the one in charge of it. And I don't have to keep asking, like, have the dogs been fed? Have the dogs been fed? Like, I just know he does it because it's part of his routines now. And so you are absolutely correct that it's like, there's family systems and the outsourcing, and the outsourcing is like people you hire, but also how you delegate within your own house. And so there's, I have like this Fair Play deck from Eve Rodsky. If you guys haven't ever heard of her, she does a lot of content around it. And it's all about that, where there's like these tangible cards where if you take the card, you have to see it through to the end. And so if people in your house are like, I'm going to do the trashes, they have to see it through all the way to the end, not be like, do it for a week and then forget and it goes back on your plate. So I absolutely agree with that. Like when you're on a budget, that is like, make that happen. It's so accessible. Here, let me read you guys this stuff here. My kids are still here. Yes. So that is, okay. So as far as like what's appropriate for different kids at different ages, it changes for sure because I have families that I've been working with that have teenagers, and they are like, I do not want my teenagers to get away with not having to pitch in. And so you can create where it's like whoever comes into your house to help is only for the like community family areas and not the kids' space. But if like one of my friends had it where she said that like her teenager, if she wanted to have their house manager clean her room, she had to pay that portion of it. And so for her, she was like already working, and she was like, well, at my juice bar that I work at, I am already making this amount. And so if I pay her, it's actually cheaper than that. So it's worth it for me because then I can pick up extra hours. So her daughter like saw the value in outsourcing it. And so her daughter was actually paying that portion. But at first it was like, you have to evaluate if this is worth it for you. And so I do think it's like with different kids ages, you have to figure out what works for your family. And even like, so my kids will help the personal chef. Like, she's usually here for about an hour to hour and a half after they get home from school. And it's like the tail end of the stuff. And so they will usually help because it's like helping like make the little garnishes and portion it out and stuff like that. And so that's kind of the together thing that they do. And I like that because that is also the pieces that I would be doing with them if I was cooking. Like, I'm not going to have them chop with a sharp knife the vegetables, but I would have them do all the little things. And so I like that they get to do that. And it's like, she's almost like a grandmother to them. She's like a family member. So they're still learning these skills, but from other villagers, which I think is pretty cool. Fair Play. Oh yeah. Thanks for the links.
Yeah, I put a couple links in there. One of my friends was in the documentary, which was so wild. So like when she came to film at their house, anyway, there was a documentary if you're like a 90-minute, like I just want to watch the Cliff Notes version, but it is a really, really fascinating book and theory basically, but it's all around changing the conversations. So Brenda's talking about like, kind of generally speaking, Eve was kind of talking about like within the household, like how to change the conversations with your partners and people like that, right? Because why does it all fall on one person? Well, it falls on one person because one person took it on and one person hasn't given it up. That's the thing, is that you're totally right, Brenda, but like we do have to find ways to, I'm going to say like, let it go, or just say like, for example, with my husband and I, I'm like, this just isn't working anymore. It was working. We did great and it was doing great, but now it's not working, right? Or same thing like, hey, we're looking into buying a riding mower for our backyard where other people in our neighborhood that has similar yards, but they're mowing it. Anyway. So my husband's like, yeah, but the time and energy that it takes me to do it, I can get it done so much faster with this thing. It doesn't take up any energy because I can sit on the thing, right? So anyway, it doesn't matter like what our mindset went through it, but the point is that we're like, all right, I hear you and I hear about these other things. And then, yeah, even like bringing your kids in, like you said, so finding ways where your kids know the responsibility of that. Like we're just at the point, mine are still pretty young too, but mine will put their clothes away, which is funny that you say, I don't mind that part because I just set it out like in the hallway And I don't fold it either. So that's just something I gave up a long time ago. I fold my own and I fold my husband's, but my kids, I'm like my 6-year-old will pull it out of her drawer every single day and then put it back. So I'm like, I'm not folding this crap. So
yeah, exactly.
I just throw it in their drawers. They throw it in their drawers. I'm good to go. Unless it's a dress or, something, right? Obviously something special, but there is ways to keep bringing your kids into things. But I think the main point to what you're saying really is looking into what's draining you as a person, right? As a mom or as a person, and like, what is draining you? And get curious about, could someone else do this? And that, that's pretty much where it starts. And then, okay, or how do I have that conversation with my spouse or my kids, right? Maybe you pay your kid to do it, right? I know Jennifer has her kids are a little bit older too. It's like, well, what would you, and that's the other thing too, like even in business.
And you don't have to pay your kids money either, because currency is different for kids. So in our house, technology screen time is currency. It doesn't cost me anything. And it is power. And so for my kids, we have one of the family systems we have these star charts for our kids. Sorry to interrupt, but it's like we have these family star charts that I can send to you, Emily, and you can share with the community if anybody wants to print them off and use them. But we, each kid, depending on what their age level is, they have age appropriate tasks like clearing their dishes, being all ready with their backpack all packed up to leave for school at a certain time. Like their bedtime process, being like brushing their teeth and putting on their jammies by a certain time. So they have these little charts of things that they have to do each day. And they have to, of the like 50 or 49 squares, they have to get like 30 of them done each week if they want to earn technology time on the weekend. And so they'll like start counting them up by like Thursday and be like, ugh. And they'll like, and then there's a category for like extra jobs. Like they take on extra jobs that they normally wouldn't do, they can earn extra stars. And so my son every week, if he's like short, if he's been like dragging his feet, not clearing his dishes, whatever, then he starts like, oh wait, I'm not going to get to play Minecraft this weekend. Then he'll be like, oh, hey mom, do you want me to fill up the dog water bowls? Hey mom, do you want me to take out the trash? Hey mom, do you want me to do this? Because he wants to earn his extra stars. And so for him, he's doing it for the reward. However, it's also teaching him to just notice things around the household that need to be done and pitching in and helping out. And eventually he won't be doing it for the reward. He'll just be doing it for the sake of helping out as he gets older. So when they're little, they need a lot more incentivizing. But then as they get older, it's like they just see how it all works and how it's like, oh, wait, when I do this, mom's in a good mood and I get fun moms. And so
there you go.
Oh, am I frozen? It's telling me my internet is weird. Okay. Hopefully it won't cut out, but it's probably from the storm. But if you have a house manager that's coming to your house 3 days a week, which is a lot, that's still 4 days a week that your kids and everybody else in your family is going to be pitching in, because the dishes don't stop on those other days. And so teaching your kids how to wash cups and teaching your kids how to fold and put away laundry and all those things, there's still going to be a lot of tasks that need to be done to keep your house going. What it does though, is it actually takes the weight off of you. And so it still is like something your kids get to contribute on all the other days. It's just you not having to do the leftovers. I feel like it's like there's a certain amount of it and then it like spills over and that goes to mom. Well, the spillover is handled. And so the low level, like everyday stuff is where everybody pitches in. And that part is still there where everyone still gets to learn those values and how to pitch in. But yeah, and honestly, it's like for some people, it's just like ask your neighbor to come over, ask your mother-in-law to help out more. Like you don't even have to pay anybody. Just start asking people to help you more. Is a great way to start if you can't fit in the budget yet.
Yeah, I think that's great advice too, because ask and like offer as well. Like, hey, can we, like, even just some other moms at like my kids' preschool, like we just finally realized like, how silly was this? She's like, do you want to pick, like, we're trying to like alternate like Wednesdays where we just have like play dates after school. So like, just give that mom 2 hours to do whatever. Well, I just want to thank you so much for coming on. This was so informative. And, I hope I hope all of you took a little bit of what you needed out of this, right? Make something work, maybe a small change in your family. Like what could you do today or tomorrow? Or you're a mom, I'll give you to the weekend. What could you do by the weekend that could potentially either ask someone, receive some help somewhere, look into if outsourcing was something you were already thinking about, even just gathering the data, looking at the finances, the money, what could you switch? What, sometimes when I look at finances, I'm like, well, what subscription do I not use? Could I switch to do this that would really actually serve me? So just, get curious about these things and know that, you will have more energy and have more, kind of be that version of yourself more if you're not doing those things. So you're making me scratch my head. I'm like, well, what is it that for me, it's kind of more in the business. Like, I'm like, what in the business do I not like love that I could start asking for help there. I'm actually, fine with some of the home stuff, but I'm like, yeah, but I just feel like, so.
And even
like,
you don't even have to hire a full-on person, just like TaskRabbit or something where it's just one-off tasks is a great way in business and even at home where you're like, I just want this furniture built, like that project I had for my back porch. I could have TaskRabbited that. I don't need to hire somebody. I could just be like, okay, I have all these tasks that just need to be finished and I'm going to hire you to come on a Saturday, the end. But yeah, I think, like, as we all think about our New Year's resolutions, like everyone either loves them or hates them, but I like to just set New Year's intentions because then it's like, I set this intention and I can change my mind later. I can be like, nope, I don't want to do that anymore. I'm gonna do this other thing. But as you set those intentions, like, what are those things you want to start doing more of? And also the things you want to let go of? Well, think about it in the household too. Like, if you had more time, if you had a magic wand that you could wave to have more time to go do X, Y, Z, like, okay, great. Now you know what that is. Okay, what are those other things that you absolutely despise doing in your house? Well, how can we find a way to like handle that so that that can happen? Like switch that instead of keep doing this and feeling resentful for it and always wish that your fantasy self could do that other thing. And so I always like the new year to reflect on this kind of stuff because then I kind of see like, wait a second, like what are the things I want to be doing more of? Okay, how can I make that happen? And what do I need to let go of in order to make that happen?
Nice. Well, thank you so much. Brenda, whatever information you wanted to send me, you can put in the Facebook group, or
Okay.
if you want to put your Instagram or other ways people can follow you, I will put that the replay is available probably in the next hour or so. So whatever you want to do, just let us know, or any resources too. If you guys have tried anything and you want, the Facebook group, the other moms to just know about it, let them know your experience. That would be awesome as well.
Yay. Thank you so much, everybody. What a treat.
Yeah, it was a treat. Thanks, everybody. We will see you next time and have a great, snowy day in Michigan. Bye.